It was the 1950s, and Maur Hill alumnus Phil Roberta was working his way up the ranks at Midwest Solvents.
Phil was one of those interesting success stories. He started out at the very lowest level that you can start out. He was in our labor crew. He worked his way up to where he ended up being one of our most important executives.
It was there at work that a new employee caught his eye. She was beautiful and captivating. Love took hold quickly. On October 25th of 1958, Phil married Roberta Bissett, and they started a family.
I know he was a good father. Roberta was a particularly good mother. Both Phil and Roberta were favorite people of my wife and I, Sally and I. You can't talk about Phil without talking about Roberta.
I remember how much fun they would have when they would go to like dinners and dances out at the country club, and they'd get all dressed up, and we'd take pictures of them before they'd go. And
Mom, very loving and supportive. Dad, strong, the rock.
I am a rock. But my mom was such the nurturer and the caregiver and the making sure everybody had what they needed. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't know how she did that with 6 kids, to be really honest. That's crazy.
They just are ideal parents, and that's obvious. If you look at their children today, the bright smile on the dark hair and freckle faces, I mean, they're the Wolters.
Everyone knew the Wolters, and they knew of their love for the game of golf.
At that time, we played golf a lot. Phil always brought Bloody Marys, enough for 1 drink apiece, and he'd brag how good they were. And so we'd keep telling him how good they were, and then he'd bring them next time.
Of course, getting together as a family was always most important.
We always got together as we, grew up. Mom and Dad always had people over, had family over, or we were going to my grandparents for get-togethers. Anytime there was a Wolters reunion, and there's about 1 million Wolters, Roberta and Phil are the ones that hosted the parties.
Every Friday night, all the kids come home with the grandkids, and so then they have steaks or fish fry or something. Then on Sunday morning, they all go to 8 o'clock Mass. And then they all come back on Sunday morning for breakfast.
When I think of the Wolters, I think of family. I think faith, and I think friendly.
And the Catholic faith always played a central role in the family.
He brought Mom into the Catholic church, and then she became extremely strong Catholic. She ended up being more Catholic than any of the Wolters. The faith was so real and so alive in her.
I remember when we'd take road trips as a whole family, we would say the rosary, and Mom would lead. Every Sunday, we would go to church. Dad would be out in the car honking, because he always wanted to be there early. I remember at Christmas time, they would sit down and decide. They had a whole list of who they donated to, and then they would decide how much they could give to each place.
When difficult challenges came in 2008, it was their faith that held them together.
Well, I think she was diagnosed in 2008, but it was just a shock. Being diagnosed with ovarian cancer is kind of a horrible diagnosis. It's got a very high % of mortality with it.
And then also during her chemo, that's when Dad passed away. And yet at the same time, I think it was her faith that got her through it.
They were always involved in the community and the Catholic schools, and that's something that still happens to this very day.
You would see them at everything. You would see them at the games. You would see them at fundraisers. You would see them at PTA meetings.
Felt like I was the luckiest person in the world to be able to have my mom at my kids' games. They loved having Mom at their games. They would look up in the crowds to see where she was. All of us still remain very close, and our mother is that, tie. But, she's a very strong matriarch.
Sister Dorothy started this award and was a recipient of the award and is thrilled that her sister-in-law gets it. And she goes, she deserves it. If anybody deserves it, Roberta deserves it.
So open your eyes and see the way our horizon